Hello everyone and welcome to a Division 1 matchup between Rutgers and Georgia Tech. I'm looking at this game here. This is Saisri. This is the board 2 from Georgia Tech against the board 3, whose username is the 3. So that'll be easy to remember. Rutgers. This is George Didita. We got a couple more games coming in now. We missed the beginning of this one. These players are playing really fast. Let's see. This was a Karo Khan exchange. Going after this bishop. We're getting forked temporarily. We take. Now bishop back. There's going to be knight takes, pawn takes. Going to have to live with that. But white has opened up their king side a little bit here. We are missing one game. Titus has started. This is the top board from Georgia Tech. He got... Did he get second or third today in the arena? I forgot. But he was on the podium for sure. He's behind Dex Webb. Actually, yeah, I think 3 National Masters made the podium. I think first was Docky, second was probably Dex Webb, then third was Titus. So he's in contention. He's in top 3 for the overall prize of the season of $500 for the weekly arenas. It's a couple points behind both Dex Webb and Daniel Edidia for that. But right now he's focused on the match. I don't know the standings of Georgia or Rutgers. I should have looked that up, but I don't think either of these teams have been doing particularly well. Division 1's very tough this year. Some very, very strong teams that they have to play against, like Berkeley and Mizzou, U Chicago. I'm sure those are some of the teams that are up there in the standings. So these two teams will try to get some points out of each other. Andrew's the favorite here in this match, obviously. Board 1 against board 4 from Rutgers. Board 4 is 1928. This is Vincent. All right, so what do we have here? Bishop fianchetto helps support the knight. Queen here puts more pressure on the knight, so f5 helps defend. Right, black bringing the last knight in, perhaps to connect the knights. Going knight f6 will be pretty solid grip on the light squares here. Kind of closes down these pieces. Let's go back to Saisri and the 3. So what is going on here? Bishop back. So we have a bishop versus a knight. Dark square bishop with lots of pawns on light squares. So this is good complement here. Controlling light squares with the pawns, the dark squares with the bishop. White has a somewhat weakened king, a fianchettoed knight as it's called. Not normally the best piece. So black's going to have to figure out a plan here. Perhaps b4. Maybe give up the queen for 2 rooks. No, just tripling up on the c file. But b4 is definitely on the agenda here for black. And if white tries to stop this, with either of these moves, I think black is going to push through regardless. So like pawn here, bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes is winning material. So this rook goes back, maybe looking to support the rook from behind. So yeah, b4 is going to hit right now. The threat is to take. So that might win some material for black. They go queen here instead. They're going after the a pawn. I think white should just play a3 now. And now b4 is a little bit more awkward to get in. Okay, queen steps up here, hitting the rook. This also clears the way for a5. So white's going to have to defend this. Maybe queen or the rook over, or moving the queen over somewhere to help out. No, they leave the c file entirely. So now a5 is the logical continuation, just playing for b4. White looking to open up the e file, but here's b4 finally. It's been played. A lot of preparation going into this. And yeah, the threat is to win a pawn here on c3 or on a3. So white takes, black takes, and again the threat is to take here. So this looks pretty good for black. National Master against board 3 from Rutgers. Oh, we already have a result. Andrew Titus with a quick win over Vincent. So let's see what happened here. Trade of bishops. We do have this trade here. Pushing through here. Knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes, king takes. And now the queen comes out to play. And there goes the knight. Yeah, this is a blunder. That's a bigger blunder. Yeah. Vincent goes down to the top board, Andrew. We haven't looked at this one. This is the top board from Rutgers. Ansh Shah versus Guida Fish Adawada. Krish Tibrowala from Georgia Tech, the bottom board. So both teams have their bottom board at 1900. So that'll be an interesting match to see in round 4. It'll be also interesting to see if they can get any upset wins in the rounds preceding that. You never know. That'd be big for them. So yeah, this should be a somewhat close match. I am missing one of the players. Let me see. Unable to follow. So I don't know where Alexander Litsenko is. But let me message Titus. Oh, there it is. Did I spell it wrong? Maybe. All right, so what's going on here? Killer Bullock, board 2 for Rutgers, 2374. Up against Rama, board 2. Wait, no, Killer Bullock is board 3 for Georgia Tech. Yeah, Georgia Tech has the stronger boards 1 through 3 for sure. Maybe even the stronger board 4. So Georgia Tech should be the favorite on this one. Knight fork. That's kind of rough, isn't it? Bishop c3 hits this bishop, actually. Not only defending, but attacking most importantly. So that's a very interesting response. A very good response. Caffeinated Bryce with the follow. Thank you. Okay, so the rook saves itself, and now this rook is hit. So if the rook saves itself here, then we will lose this pawn, and our knight's going to be pinned as well. So that's going to be dangerous. Appreciate it, Bryce. Good to see you. All right, back to the 3 and Sisri. They both have names that end with re. They have more in common than they do apart. Queen threatening checkmate. So maybe you have to push a pawn. Or, hold on. Do we have something better? Rook takes with check, king over. Now we have a couple queen checks. How'd I get 920 views? It's probably the chess.com embed, chess TV. Because there's definitely not that many chatters. All right, Killer Bullock won their game against Vrama. So let me input that. Oh, I also didn't give Titus his point, did I? All right, so 2-0 for Georgia Tech. Looks like, yeah, this should be mate next. Or rook checkmate, yeah. Nice from Sisri. We got one game left in the first round. So let's see. Georgia Tech at 3-0 right now. Can the fourth board complete the sweep? Looks like Keep It Cool has a better position, more active pieces. This is a tall pawn back here. White's desperately trying to get the queens off. I mean, the position's pretty even. Yeah, they might just draw. The queen comes back. Queen back here, exactly. Yeah, I don't know how black makes progress. They've pushed a pawn here. And we have a pawn push here. So players in time scramble, they're pushing pawns. Okay, some captures here, some trades, some progress, perhaps. Got to take this back, right? What's wrong with taking back? All right, black takes back. So now what does white do? White steps up, maybe looking here. Queen here, maybe rook here. I don't know if that weakens this. I don't know if black will ever push for this. Okay, rook supporting this. Less than 30 seconds for both players. Pawn push. This rook is hanging. Pawn push here. This is a connected passer. Black is slowly but surely improving the position. Rook supporting this pawn now. The king is shuffling. Queen's trying to enter. Queen comes back. This bishop's pinned now. King steps out of the pen. And now we have d4. Bishop takes with check. Uh-oh. Okay, this pawn is isolated now. Bishop here trading. Oh, this pawn's hanging now. Can you do that? I don't know. Okay, now it's defended. Here, rook here's an idea. Doubling this hangs this as well. This pawn is pushing. Check. Pawn push. Queen blocks. Trade here. Check. Queen block is bad because of promotion. This is a pin. There goes your queen. There goes the game. Oh, keep it cool. Kept it cool. And they got the only point for Rutgers, taking down a hard-fought match against Georgia Tech's bottom board. So after one round, we have 3-1 Georgia Tech. And we have round 2 underway now with Titus versus the 3. George. All right, so let's see how Titus is doing. Both sides castle king side. We got a dark square fianchetto from George. Pushing the pawn in the center, getting ready to bring the bishop out. We have h3 taking the square away from the bishop. So the bishop has to go to the modest d7 square. White will probably go for this sequence. This is pretty common against the fianchetto. You want to trade off your dark square bishop for theirs. The bishop takes a step back. So this bishop was a hanging piece on c4. It wasn't attacked, but usually hanging pieces can be susceptible to attacks. Maybe knight here or knight here at some point. Rook here as well. Could have lined up discoveries with the knight. So bishop sucks back, and now white goes for f4, launching an attack on the king side, looking to play f5 at some point. This also helps control and keep the knight out of e5. This does temporarily block the bishop, but again, f5 is the plan. Or perhaps even e5. So knight takes, knights, bishop recaptures. Now opposite the bishop. Also helps supporting an e5 break. So now the knight comes out, offering a bishop trade. Does white go for it? And if so, does the black king take or does the knight take? The knight takes back. So this is the infamous fianchettoed knight. Now the queen takes the d file, hitting a pawn, getting on the nice long diagonal. Very well placed. The knight steps up, hitting the queen. If bishop takes, queen takes on a7. So that's a pawn for Andrew. Let's check out Saisri, the board 2. Looks like we got a lot of tension in the center. Black releases first. White takes back with the knight. Both sides castle king side. Both sides have traded the light square bishops. So white has the pawn center. They've just completed development. Trade here on c4. Black still needs to get the queen involved. White will probably put a rook on the c file because it's semi-open. That or the d file. Both are pretty good. Maybe break for d5 at some point. I'm not sure when. But yeah, the position's fairly open. Fairly simple. I think white will probably want to lift the rooks at some point to attack the king here. Black's going for a queen or a bishop trade. Just trying to simplify down. White might play f4. f4 might be a good move here. Just attacking the bishop. Getting the bishop out of there. We'll see if Sagaton plays it. No. Bring the rook opposite the queen. Saying if you take my bishop, I'll probably take with the rook to lift it. I still like f4. f4 seems like a good idea. Let's go back to Andrew's game. What's up, Lonely Spaceman? Yeah, any viewership we have is thanks to chess.com. It's nothing that I'm personally doing. But you love to see the support and the exposure. So hopefully we can grow the channel as much as possible. So yeah, what was this move? What was the plan with this? Knight takes pawn, knight takes, and now queen check. Is the rook coming here? Is that what I'm getting at? King over and now rook a8. Is the queen trapped? Ah, you have to sacrifice back. Yeah, that's a pretty deep calculation there. Let's see. So knight takes to clear this diagonal. So the queen comes out with check. And this takes away this square. I wonder if you could have started with this. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But yeah, giving the bishop back and now the queen is freed along the third rank. Maybe try to defend the b pawn. You can trade off queens with check. You can also go to c3. Maybe there's rook to c8, which is annoying. There's also knight check you could insert first. And the king is going to have to go to one of these 4 squares. If you go to either of these two, we have a check here, which could be annoying. There's also knight takes here, so probably the knight would go back after this. So the queen goes to c3 first. Does rook c8 hit? And if so, where does the queen go? Yeah, rook to c8. Now, maybe the knight check now is annoying. There's not really any good follow-up checks, though. Black has the A, B, and C files covered. Let's go back to Vrama. How's this one going? Versus the board 4 from Georgia Tech, Krish. So it looks like White's doing fairly well. They're up in exchange as well as a pawn. This is hitting the rook. Knight takes, rook takes. Okay, move the rook, attacking the bishop. We can go here now. This forces a trade. Maybe we can see a capture on f2. Takes, 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 takes. I'm not sure. Okay, we have rook takes now. Bishop takes, knight takes, hits the rook. Rook here seems logical. Knight covers this check. Could also get behind the pawn. No. Saying, I want to save my g2 pawn. I'm going to go back. I want to trade rooks. I'll go after your weak pawns later. But for now, I want to take away the activity of your piece. So the rook's probably going to move back. I don't think black wants to trade. Oh, we had a result. Keep it cool lost to Killer Bullock. That's a huge upset. So board 3 from Georgia Tech beat board 1 from Rutgers. So yeah, the rook comes all the way back, and now we have rook here, hitting the pawn, hitting the knight. And if the rook tries to defend the pawn, then we have another rook joining the party. And it's not so good for black. So I think white should be able to win this one fairly easily. Let's check in with Titus. He's under a minute, but he's up material. His queen's hit. Queen to g3. So black could take like any of these pawns. All of these pawns are hanging and hit, some of them multiple times, like c2. Defended 0 times. But white wants to come here and here. And here, maybe. So also rook takes here is annoying, right? So if you take one of mine, I'll take one of yours. So the 3 is thinking here. The time is about even now. Let's look at Saisri and Vincent. Yeah, so white's looking to just double up on the G file, probably. Hit the queen away. Black is doubled on the D file, but this pawn's sufficiently defended. We have pawn push. This is nice. Hitting the rook, hitting the pawn. And if the rook moves, then we can capture on D4. This actually was hanging this pawn. So let's see. We could maybe get away with this. Scuba G7. Or Scuba, I don't know. SCU bag. Welcome. All the viewers are from chess.com. What's happening here? Trade here, and now white's just up a rook against a knight. So the up in exchange. But yeah, this should be an easy, quick conversion here for white. Pawn push. Get rid of the defender. You can take this. Yeah. Just don't get the knight and the rook forked. If only knights could take like that. But no. Pinning, yeah, taking here, pawn here. Just don't stalemate. But too many pawns to protect against, so should be an easy win for Veronima. Let's check out Titus. Titus very low on clock. Both players at about 20 seconds. Knight check, knight check. Ooh, rook to h8 is gonna be GG. I think you have to take this. Or you let the rook check you and then queen takes, but you're losing material. So at least you get rook and knight versus queen. Oh, but the queen fork at the end. Very nice. Nicely done from Andrew. So now Andrew's up to 2 out of 2. Oh, Varama just won their game. So they beat the fish out of water. So that was not a surprise. So given Rutgers their second point, here we have board 2 from Georgia Tech down to their last 12 seconds. Queen check, king up, only move, or you block, but that would lead to mate. Queen takes, king takes, rookie 1 is GG. So now it looks like white's crashing through here. Look at this. Okay, queen takes on f2, but now we take here. Rook here, we take this with check. The rook is pinned. We take that for free. And we're threatening checkmate. GG. So rook here, but rook here regardless. Pawn takes this mate. Promoted to rook. Nice finish. So Saisri is now 2 out of 2 as well. So all top 3 boards from Georgia Tech have won all of their games. Only Guida Fish out of Wada from Georgia Tech has lost any. So we're going into round 3 here. Georgia Tech's pulling away with it. They won both rounds 3-1 so far. Rutgers gonna need a comeback. Their top 2 boards have only gotten 1 point each against Krish from Georgia Tech's board 4. So we're just waiting on round 3 to start. We'll see Titus versus Rama. We'll have Saisri versus Keep It Cool. We'll see if the 3, George Didita, can get any points out of Krish. So far, that's been Rutgers' only hope is on the 4th board. So I'm not seeing the round 3 games starting yet. Maybe they're taking a half time breather, perhaps. Looks like I'm receiving word from Georgia Tech's top board. Keep It Cool is now playing against Saisri. We had this game. This game was apparently won by abandonment. So I'll have to bring this up with chess.com. So apparently this is the second time this has happened. So yeah, that's really unfortunate actually for Keep It Cool. I guess they just thought too long. Alright, well, Keep It Cool. Hopefully they can keep it cool themselves. I'll be bringing this up for sure. They're playing now against Saisri. We'll see if the players decide to rematch later or not. Alright, so what's happened here? We've got both sides castled kingside. Both players being cut of the light square bishop. The rooks are in contention. White has a bishop here, but black is trying to close this bishop out with this pawn structure. White's trying to undermine it with this pawn break, but this pawn is very sufficiently defended by a lot of black's pieces. So white's got to think of how to activate this bishop. Maybe you need to play e3 at some point. Could also decide to take on a8. Now the queen steps up. This connects the rooks. So if rook takes, you don't have the awkward queen or bishop takes. You can take back with the rook, taking back the a file. We got Vrama and Titus. This should be a good match. Vrama is one of the leaders from Rutgers. Titus is Georgia Tech's leader, the representative. So queen over. This helps defend. The knight also helps support e4. The bishops getting hit, so it steps back here. Only one square, not both squares. Now the knight looking to hit the bishop as well, offering a knight trade. If knight takes, pawn takes. So you could have taken with bishop with check. We have a lot of pre-moves, a lot of captures here. So now d3, hitting the knight, hitting the pawn. If pawn takes, black's queen gets activated. Jumps into the middle of the board. So yeah, playing very, very quickly. Says, no, I'm going to save the knight. If you want to take, I'll take back. That's fine. This really opens up this bishop. These last couple of pawn moves. So this bishop's tied down to defense of b2. And the pawn can't push because the rook would then hang. So here comes out the queen. Maybe we take on b2 now. Maybe they could have traded first. Bishop takes, then queen check. King in the corner. Now does black go bishop b2? No. They just focus on their development. And now white closes the bishop's diagonal. e5. Now black says, no, I want to open this diagonal again. So gonna go with f6. f6. Now after pawn takes f6, this pawn will be weakened and doubled. So white's thinking about it. Do I take on f6 or do I let them take me on e5? Black might also play f5, but seems unlikely. Right now, black is starting to win material. Pawn takes, bishop takes, or knight takes. Because both bishop and knight are defending, or attacking rather, this square, but it's only defended once by white, by the queen and the pawn. So yeah, white's thinking here, how do I go about this? I think you just take on f6 and go after this weak pawn. It's easier said than done. Maybe like rook lift bishop here is a thing. I doubt it, but maybe. We'll see. What does Vrama choose to do against the top board from Georgia Tech? Down to 3 minutes now. They spent a lot of time on that. They finally take on f6. Bishop retakes, and now knight coming into e4, hitting the bishop. What else is it looking at? Maybe trying to hang the b2 pawn, but black is not taking the bait. So now the knight comes in, blocking the bishop, and now the knight comes in, hitting this bishop. So white will likely save the bishop or hold on to it somehow. Also, this move opens up the queen and defends the pawn with the knight as well. So now the queen pins the knight to the king, and the plan is to go bishop to e3. So the queen steps off the diagonal, says, I don't want to get pinned. No, thank you. And now black can take this. Encouraged to even. White is attacking this knight multiple times. Twice. Only defended once by the bishop. So, does black take the bish? Yes, they do. So we trade off. Now black has the bishop pair, and they're opening up this diagonal for their bishop here. I like this move a lot. Also, just looking at this pawn, I think white should just take this. Queen check first. Okay, king in the corner. I need to get more sleep. I did not get much sleep last night. Okay, white has a couple ideas. Yeah, knight here is one of them. Knight here could be next. Ooh, hitting the rook. So now pawn takes with tempo. Oh, but then queen takes. Queen takes. The bishop covers the rook check. So maybe rook here first. But then black's going to take. But then maybe we take back. I don't know. Rook here, and now what happens if this? Bishop here? Yeah, I don't know what the plan is at this point. That is kind of rough. I think black should be winning this now. What happened? Things got twisted. Knight here, and now queen here with the very gross pen. And then bishop here is a mistake because of rook here. Just piling up on the pin piece. So, yeah, I think that black was anticipating playing this with back rank mate, but the bishop is here to protect. And unfortunately, this just loses a piece. So, taking here, this bishop takes d5. Bishop takes. If rook takes, bishop takes again. Yeah, so black goes for this. They find it. Should be easy peasy from here on out for Andrew. Let's check out this game here between Keep It Cool and Saisri. These are some of the better players on both teams. Top board from Rutgers against board 2. Both players at 2,500. So what do we got going on? Bishop and knight versus bishop and knight and a bunch of pawns. Pawns look very even. Very much quite even. So bishop gets off this pen. I think the threat was knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, bishop. So bishop gets out of that tactic. And if king goes here, there's not the same tactic because then the king's pinned to that pawn. Or rather, the pawn's pinned to the king. So the king steps up. King's sticking on the light squares opposite this bishop. Same with white. White's also got all the pawns on the light chain, which is nice. Titus just beat Brahma. So Titus improves to 3 out of 3. Georgia Tech only 1 point away from getting 8 for a tie. Okay, so we do have some pawn pushes here in the center. Bishop comes out, pressure on the knight. This knight is a lot better than this knight, so it wouldn't surprise me if white just traded here. So probably bishop takes. Maybe king takes. Alright, so bishop takes. And now maybe f4 is an idea. For black. White maybe play f3. Even more pressure on e4. I'm not sure. Keep it cool. Lots of time spent here. They finally find f3. That's a good move. For sure. So time well spent perhaps. Saisri now. Minute 15. Ticking down. Gonna get to about a minute. Deciding which pawn do I want to take. If I want to take. Do I push? That's pretty much it. If you do nothing, they're threatening to take twice. So you would lose a pawn. But perhaps the pawn would be easy to retake. But they take here. Now probably knight takes. Or I mean, either way is probably pretty even. So decide to take with the knight. Gives the option of hitting the bishop. So bishop steps back. Now we have f4. Going for even more trades. If pawn takes, probably knight takes with check. Maybe bishop takes, pawn takes. Yeah, I'm not sure. But now both players under a minute, 40 seconds for Saisri, 24 for Keep It Cool on Shah. We're going to get into time scramble mode now. H6 defending the pawn. King steps up. White's playing this fast. King steps over. And now trying to break down this pawn chain trade here. So now these pawns are completely even, pretty much. The knight should shine a little bit more. If we capture here, retake. And yeah, Saisri is actually the one that's low on time. This knight needs to get here somehow. $16, $15, $14. Alright, so they move. This is opposite the knight, which is nice. Now keep it cool up to 18. They're going to go here, attacking the pawn. We're going to have to go back this way. What else could they think of? Here to here, maybe. To here. Yes, this is the plan. This is what White's going for. And the knight here is annoying because it not only hits the pawn, it also controls this square. So the bishop comes back preemptively, saying, alright, that's fine. You can go to d5 if you want, but all your forward moves with my bishop are under control. Knight comes here. Anyways, 4, 3, very close to 3 seconds. 4. It's 3.9 now. They're gaining a little bit of time. 13 seconds for White. This should just be a draw. Also, Killer Bullock won against Vincent. So they're at 3 now out of 3. We do have a game between Fish Out of Water and the 3. Yeah, both players playing this pretty well. I don't know if the knight can utilize these squares at all. Knight's coming in. I don't know if there's like knight h7 check. I don't know. Bishop steps up. There's knight check. King back. King up. You gonna repeat? Nope. Maybe we should look at the other game. Really quick. Oh, man. Okay, bishop pair. No. Rook pair. Opposite color bishops. Black is up a pawn. And now pushing the pawn. Bishop here. This hangs b2. So now black is up 2 pawns, but now g4 is attacked. G4. Oh, I don't know. Maybe black thought they could go back, but the bishop is defending that. So yeah, rook on the g file, very strong. Don't really want to allow rook takes with check. So okay, it's saying take my pawn. I don't care. I'm attacking f2, but f2 can be defended pretty easily, I think. But what about h3 though? Okay, they don't take h3. Instead, they push the pawn. Rook lift, looking for checkmate on h4. How do you stop that? You go rook c4. Okay, so black is in time to save the mate. Now there's bishop check. Black's got these nice pawns on c4 and d3. Bishop here. This is attacking the rook. Rook gives check. Now, how do we... There's rook check, but king here now. So I don't know how we make progress here. We're actually losing. Oh, keep it cool and Saisri drew. Okay. I mean, that position was very drawn. So now black has a queen, and that's checkmate. All right, the 3 with their first point of the day, taking down Guida Fish out of Wada, who hasn't gotten any points yet. Krish, get it together, Krish. You got 1 round left against Vincent, the bottom board from Rutgers. Neither player actually has gotten any points. But yeah, with that draw and that win, Georgia Tech clinches the win at 8.5. So yeah, 1 round left to go. And then after this last round, then we're going to switch over to I was going to call them Wussel. It's Wash U in St. Louis. Although people maybe refer to them as Wussel. It's the C team from WashU playing up against UC San Diego's D team. Yeah, these players, they take their time between rounds, it seems. They're taking their sweet time. They're taking their breaks. So I'm going to get some water. Gonna hydrate. I need to wake up a little bit. All right, here we go. Here's the board 4 matchup we've been waiting for. All right, D4, D5. A little mirror, a little copycat. Bishop F5, maybe. That'd be nice. Nope. So Guida Fish Adawada breaks the symmetry. They have another chance to go for it. Bishop F5. Come on. So good. Yes. Completely symmetrical. What about Yale's B team? When does Yale B play? At the same time? Did they say they rescheduled it? They're playing now. Well, we're watching a game already. Let's see. Oh yeah, they started at an awkward time. They started at 5:30 my time. So, I already was watching this game and yeah. If I streamed their match, I would have missed the second half of this match and I would have missed the first half of the next match. So, rather than do that, I just decided to stream this one and watch U versus USC, which is after this. So that way I get 2 matches in instead of 1 and 2 halves of 2 other matches. Yeah, so that's on you guys for scheduling a half hour. Maybe if you scheduled it for 30 minutes later, I would have done that over WashU and USC. Because Yale B is a higher division for sure. Oh, we had a result. Or maybe not. No, Titus and Keep It Cool are playing, no? Okay, so all 4 games of round 4 are underway. If Rutgers sweeps this round, then they're very close to 8.5, 7.5. But they'd still lose, unfortunately. But it'd be very close. Be a very close score. But I think Georgia Tech should win this one 3-1. We'll see. Well, actually, I want to watch. Yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on this 4th board matchup here. The two 1900s. We could also watch the top board 25-30 versus 26-37. It's pretty close. It's like 100 rating points. Hello, Chess Java. Good to see you. So trading bishops. So do we go for the pawn cube? Pawn cube? Let's go. Pawn cube from black. This king is untouchable behind a pawn cube. Okay, white's trying to double rooks. Yeah, you don't want to open up this diagonal. Allows check and takes pawn. We have an early draw offer from Titus. Titus could go for 4 out of 4. Decides to offer draw. Makes a move, offers draw. They've spent 1 second to get to this position. The opponent now is thinking, do I quit now? Do I go for more and blunder? Yeah, Wash U C versus USC D. Yes. So they don't take the draw. They play on, which I respect. Let's go back to the fourth boards. What's happening here? Oh, looks like this king's on the run. What happened? Pawn takes pawn here and bishop sacrifice. Getting 2 pawns plus the bishop back. Very nicely done from black. So definitely you cannot take back. Bishop e2 is best here. And if bishop takes, king takes. Instead we have a trade, and this is going downhill fast for Vincent. So looks like Guida Fish Adewada gonna get that first point of the match. Oh, the 3 beat Killer Bullock. Let's see this one really. Oh, game 1. Oh, this happens too much. This is happening too much. What's funny is I think Killer Bullock won their match against Keep It Cool by an abandonment, and now they lost theirs by abandonment. That's just, yeah, we need to change that quickly. They can rematch if they want, but they shouldn't have to worry about that. All right, so the queen could take here. Maybe should take here. You could also take here first. Rook takes. Rook takes, queen takes, then queen takes, then queen check, then queen block. Queen takes, king takes. What's happening there? We have 3-on-2 majority here. And we got a pawn cube against 3 pawns here. That's kind of crazy. Titus planned for the pawn cube. So looks like we're going into this though. Maybe Titus isn't afraid of the pawn cube. Does he go for check and trade? If you go check and they go here, you ruin the pawn cube. So they don't want to go into this pawn cube endgame. They want to leave the queens on. Defending this, maybe going for this check instead. I'm gonna push here. I do like Andrew's position better though, despite the pawn cube, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Nobody tell Rosen. It's the sad truth. Pawn diamonds I like more than pawn cubes. So yeah, keep it cool. They've broken their pawn diamond or their pawn cube. Now it has a chip. And Titus has made a flight square for the king. Let's check in on, oh, this game just finished. Guida Fish was going to win this one, so they did. So Vincent, unfortunate for Rutgers, hasn't gotten any points. Came down to that 4th board, and Krish was the better 1900 in this match. Let's check in on Saisri and Vrama, the board 2s. Saisri with the double rooks on the D file, looking pretty good. Black has pushed f5, which is pretty interesting, and now rook lift. This prevents rook d7. So now queen e2. Maybe looking at this move. Maybe. Let's go back to the pawn cube. So Titus pushing c4. I think that makes sense. Just try to work the 3-on-2 majority. So queen over, maybe looking at a1 with check. But it's very short-lived. King steps up, and then there's nothing more. But yeah, Titus just can't play a3 right now. You could maybe play like queen to c1. Maybe queen c1. Could be a thing. Just to take away a1. Get behind this pawn. And then just try to push him. That's what I would do if I was Titus. I'd try to make a pass pawn on the outside with this 3-on-2 majority. So we'll see what Andrew comes up with here. Let's see what the plan. They got plenty of time to think about it. Although, maybe they abandoned the game. That would be 3 times in one match. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Hey, Difster, good to see you. We got 5 minutes left until the next match starts. So hopefully these games finish by then. Yeah, Titus might get the game abandoned. I'd make a move. I mean, even if that isn't the case, you still need to hurry up a little bit, I think. I don't know when this move started. Wow, okay, queen d5 after all of that. So if a1 check, king up, queen takes, there's queen takes either of these. Probably this one to defend that. And now this pawn's passed. So maybe they were looking at queen takes, pawn takes. King here, pawn push, king here. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think this might be good for black to take. Can we do that? Take, take. King back, yeah. And now this pawn's very weak. Here, 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 here. Maybe Andrew saw this. He spent a lot of time to calculate, decided this trade would be fine. So, yeah. So go here, 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 here. Maybe you get a little bit more of an advantage out of that. Let's check back on the board twos. So both players under a minute, both players under 45 seconds. Now both players under 40 seconds. It's crazy how time works. Black just made a flight square. A trade of one pair of rooks. This queen's really well placed in the center. Rook lift. Making sure there's no checks to worry about. Rook here, though. Rook here threatens mate. But then we have check. Then they go here. But then that's it. So rook here would have been somewhat interesting. We could block these ways. Okay, offering queen trade. Accepted. King takes. Controlling some of the e-file. Maybe trying to trade rooks. Rook all the way back. 20 seconds to 20 seconds. Time scramble. So yeah, Rama's playing really well. I mean, their opponent is like 500 rating points higher than them. So position's completely even. Maybe white has a more active rook. I'm not sure. Okay, check. You either block or you... Oh, okay, block. And now probably here. Or here is fine too. Here. Check this way. Block. Back, back. Repetition. All right, that's an easy draw. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's what happened. We're down to this last game here. Draw for Saisri and Vrama. So Saisri ends with 3 out of 4 with 2 draws. Not bad. Vrama at 1.5. Yeah, we'll give the 3 a point as well. Just to be consistent. They won by abandonment. And yeah, we're down to this last game here. The top boards, Keep It Cool and Titus. So, yeah, Titus traded queens here. The kings have joined in the center. Black has a pawn cube that's been broken, unfortunately. And yeah, white should just be better here. They have the passed pawn. King over. So yeah, the question is, how does white make progress? But I'm not sure. So king over. Probably king c4 now. Yeah. So king c4, can we go b5 and sacrifice our d pawn? Or can we do better and just zugzwang them? Whenever black pushes here, white pushes here. Here, 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 here. Promote. Maybe they promote. As long as it doesn't come with check. pawn push here. But now the king has no entry. So maybe the king goes this way. But then you lose this pawn. So this should also just be a draw. Yeah, they just drew it out. So yeah, Titus offered draw like very early on, right? So Titus undefeated 3.5 out of 4. Keep it cool at 2 out of 4. But they did lose that one game by abandonment. But at the end of the day, 10.5 Georgia Tech win over Rutgers.